Today I want to talk about whether or not we really need stainless steel pins in our tumbler when we wet tumble our brass. Now I posted a video about 4 months ago showing my normal process for wet tumbling. That was one of the very first videos I posted. And in that video I indicated that this Lee Universal decapping die I used for all of my brass. I use it for all my rifle, I use it for all my pistol. And that was the case. If you notice my sizing die for my 44s, the decapping pin has been removed. If you notice the sizing die for my 38 and 357s, the decapping pin has been removed. But things have changed recently. I started recently loading 9mm, and this is my 9mm sizing die, and I've left the decapping pin in. And considering 9mm, things have changed slightly, but a little bit from my normal procedures for my other brass, and I want to talk about that today. So that video I posted 4 months ago, that's currently my second most popular video. It's about 16 minutes long. I'm going to start sizing and priming some 9mm brass while I cut in just probably a couple minute segment of the snippets from that video to explain the process, and then I'll bring you back to discuss some of the differences, some of the changes. I deprime all of my brass with the Lee decapper. And you don't have to deprime your brass before you tumble. A lot of people don't. I like to. It's not a matter of necessity, it's a matter of personal preference. See the Harbor Freight 2-drum rock tumbler that I've been using for the last year and a half, and it's been working perfect. Inside of these drums, I keep, in both drums, I've got a pound each of these steel pins, and I just leave them in here at all times. We'll go ahead and fill this one up with the 38 Special and the 357 Magnum brass. Now that we have the water in here, I'll go ahead and put a little bit of Dawn dish soap. Again, make sure the water covers the brass, but it's below that line where the lid will sit. And I just eyeball the amount of soap. Doesn't take much. That Dawn will help clean the dirt and the grime off. I'll put a pinch of Lemmy Shine in there, which is a soap as well, but it's very high in citric acid, and it really makes that brass shine. That's about all it takes. And then put both the drums on there. Turn it on. Sometimes it needs a little help to get started. And I will let that sit there for 3 hours. I'll come back in 3 hours and pull those off. Alright, it's been a little over 3 hours now. Just pulled these off the tumbler. And let's go ahead and separate the brass from the pins and get them rinsed off. Give it a little bit of a rinse, and then I'll pull out, I just reach in there by hand and pull out each piece of brass one by one, shake the pins off, leave them back in the tub. Probably better, faster to use some sort of media separator. I don't have one, and this has always worked just fine for me. And this seems to be about the right capacity. I just empty the brass into here, drop all the pins back in the bucket. This just takes me a minute or two for each drum. Then I go and I rinse my brass off. Okay, there it is. The brass was deprimed. It was tumbled and cleaned. It's been rinsed off, and now here it is to dry. So if you've been following the channel at all lately, you know that I've been reloading for several years, but I just recently picked up about 3,500 pieces of 9mm brass, once fired range type brass. from Sleeping Giant Brass. And he sells it in various conditions, but I bought basically dirty unprocessed brass. It cost me about 2 cents a piece. I've never loaded 9mm, and I'm just starting. I've always loaded rifle and revolver cartridges. And with the bolt action rifle, with my single shot rifle, with the revolver, it's really easy to hold on to and keep my brass. Bring it home, clean it up, take it back to the range, and that cycle goes round and round. And that brass will last a long time. I don't have any data to show the time frame that the brass wears out, but I know Fortune Cookie 45LC has shown some 44 Magnum brass that he's used for more than 40 years. I'm at a point where I don't think, even though I've started reloading 9mm, that I'm going to bother picking up my 9mm brass. When I can order so much from somebody like Sleeping Giant Brass, and there's a bunch of companies out there like that, for so cheap, I don't think it's going to be worth my time and my effort. Now, I'm not saying it's the case for you as well, but where I'm at right now, a couple cents a piece, I will leave it for somebody else to pick up and load, knowing that I can order 4,000 cases for just shy of $100. I have no intention of bringing this brass home after I shoot it. Since I won't be recovering my 9mm brass and bringing it home and reloading it over and over and over again, I started thinking, why bother depriming before I tumble? Now, I will still do that on my other cases because it cleans out the primer pockets. Again, it's not necessary, but it's a matter of preference, and I don't mind doing that. But for this stuff that I'm going to fire once, leave on the ground, and then buy another box full, I don't think I'm going to take the time or effort for that extra step. So I started wet tumbling that brass that I bought recently, and after a tub or two, I started wondering if I really need to use the steel pins. I figured they'll take it a step further. As you saw in the snippets from the older video, I don't have or use a media separator other than my own digits here. I'm still pulling out the brass out of the wet tumbling tub piece by piece and shaking the pins out. And I started wondering if I can tumble without the pins, and instead of separating the pins from the brass, just simply open the tub up and rinse it off. Why not? So I ran a couple tubs of the 9mm with the old primer still in it with the steel pins, and then I've run several without. And here's the results of the two side by side. This pile here was tumbled with the steel pins, and this pile here was tumbled without. And the only difference was the lack of steel pins. It was the same amount of time, same amount of soap, same amount of lemishine. And from the outside of the case, there is no real discernible difference. If you look inside the case, the ones that were tumbled with the steel pins, which is this side, are a bit cleaner and a bit shinier inside. Not a big difference, but there is one. Again, the outside of the cases look identical. They're clean. And, well, these two, you can definitely tell there's a difference. But performance-wise, these are going to perform the same. And so I think it's going to be more convenient, at least for the method that I currently use, it's going to be more convenient for these particular cases to tumble without the stainless steel pins. I don't have any plans to stop using the pins for any of my other cases, but I think I'll leave them out for my 9mm. And I'm curious, for those of you that wet tumble, do you use the stainless steel pins? Do you ever tumble without them? I'm curious if there's any reports of how they turn out with other types of brass, like large rifle cases. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thank you all for watching, and God bless.